Good morning, Chandler. I'm Councilmember Mark Stewart, and we are here with Jessica Pierce and Chris Camacho. We're going to talk to you today a little bit about what's going on in the marketplace in Phoenix, the general Phoenix area, as well as some other things. Obviously, we're in some unprecedented times, and your city council and mayor are working with local and state partners to ensure recovery for our economy. Today, we are going to be talking a lot about the economy in general, what the recovery will look like. Maybe we'll touch on some of the things the president outlined yesterday, what our governor might be doing. But I think ultimately, we're going to be talking about how this affects you and how this can, how we're going to be able to rebound from this. So Chris oversees the domestic and international business development and market strategies for GPEC, which is the Greater Economic Phoenix Economic Council, and he's the executive leader in the community interactions. So Jessica is the CEO of Career Connectors and a Chandler resident, and her organization is dedicated to helping people get back to work. So Jessica is also the president of Thrive 139, and that's and they focus on character, chemistry, and hiring people and developing people with churches and organizations, nonprofit organizations like that. Jessica, is that right? Yeah, so good. So hello, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So Chris, at a press conference this week, Governor Ducey discussed the need to reawaken business activity. There was some noise yesterday from the president as well. I think Governor Ducey is vowing to re-energize the Arizona economy quickly. But what are your thoughts on this, and what puts Arizona in an opportune position to really take advantage of this recovery and some of the things that are going on with the Fed and some of the liquidation of resources?
Sure. Well, good morning, Mark, and thanks for the opportunity to be here, and good morning to the Chandler community. First and foremost, the Greater Phoenix region, as we entered this COVID impact 30 to 45 days ago now, was one of the fastest growing markets, both from a population base, but also from GDP perspective as well. So again, while we're dealing with the perils of COVID as a healthcare and humanitarian crisis, which must continue to be dealt with, I do foresee some interventions that are happening that are very critical to the health and wellness of our economy. First, the Paycheck Protection Program that the federal government approved and is now fully subscribed but liquid in the hands of Arizona businesses. That's the good news. The challenge is there's about 160,000 small businesses in Arizona that would be eligible for the Paycheck Protection Program, which has a loan and in some cases a grant relief aspect to it. Now with that, the 7% of our small businesses were actually able to take advantage of the PPP. And so there's a lot of talk in Congress about another big tranche because the demand for small business well outweighs the current resources available through the PPP and the economic injury disaster loans. So my view of this in the short term, obviously with the social distancing practices, small business is getting hit very significantly. And on average across the US, the average cash buffer for small business is roughly 27 days. So 1 month of cash reserve. So you put these together where we've had the social distance for the last 25 days, that's likely to continue for the near term. I know the governor's, we had a conference call yesterday. He's very thoughtfully looking at how to reopen the economy, which is a very important step, but to do so safely. And Sandra Watson at the ACA, who's kind of heading up the strategy on the economic side, we're all working together to put these strategies in place. And I will tell you, this is probably the most pivotal time since the 2008 recession in terms of what strategy we deploy over the next quarter to ensure that we support our small businesses as we go forward, because this is a very important time for small business.
Well, you're absolutely right. And, we've been talking with small business owners yesterday. I think I probably talked to 6 or 7 small business owners here in Chandler, and they're expressing, that you can feel that sort of nervousness with the PPP running out of money. Fortunately, I think I saw yesterday that Senator Sinema and Senator McSally are locking arms to work on the task force to help Donald Trump and the president move things forward nationally, but locally, that confidence that we're going to need in our economy will definitely come from our small business owners, and I can feel it. They're energized. They're ready to go. They're just like, wait a second. It's like Charlie Brown with Lucy pulling the football out. But I think the I think the Fed, the National Guard, I think the administration and Congress will move something quickly through. I'm hoping to see, man, it would be great if something could happen today to see that 250 billion re-energized, because I know that a lot of folks came up empty on this one. So, this will start at the grassroots, I believe.
Yeah, just a quick further comment on that, Mark, because I think it's really important. The first and second tranche of PPP, if we do obtain another approval through Congress, that's likely to cover between 10 and 15% of those businesses. So that leaves 80 to 85 plus for these small businesses that are going to need still capital support. So, we're going to need further interventions to help support from a small business standpoint as it relates to microloans or CDFI applications. There's going to need to be more capital to support these companies, but again, it's all about timing of how we're able to open this market economy up safe, and that's what's going to lead us out of this.
Sure. Well, thanks, Jessica. Obviously, national unemployment rates have skyrocketed, and we were at a 50-year low for unemployment. I mean, the economy was cranking. America was rocking, and Arizona was like leading. We were the tip of the spear for that, and with this health crisis, how do you see Arizona comparing to national rates? And what do you see locally, and what can our folks do?
Well, first of all, Arizona is trending same as national, and our unemployment. So unemployment numbers lag behind. So to give an actual number of the latest numbers we have, they're not accurate. So it'll be a couple weeks before we actually see that. But what we can give you and what we can say is unemployment claims each week. So to put it into perspective, 3,500 claims a week is what Arizona averages with DES. Our claims have skyrocketed. And so starting a month ago, the first time there was a real big uptick, it was about 29,000 claims. And it continues. Last 2 weeks ago, it was 135,000 claims in 1 week. And so in 1 month, we have had 345,000 unemployment claims. That is more than the entire year of 2019. So a lot of the frustration is the laws have changed with the CARES Act and unemployment. And so different people qualify for different things. And Arizona is trying to catch up. And so people are feeling frustrated because they don't know, one, I feel like I got denied. I'm getting letters, don't really make sense, but it's because the systems aren't there yet. So the good news is that they are working really hard to implement these systems, and so that the unemployment payments start coming, not just the Arizona $240 a week payment, but the $600 stimulus funding payment. And so people started actually getting that $600 this week, was the first time people started getting it. But if you are a 1099 or self-employed, you now can qualify for that $600 a week, but those payments might take a couple weeks to catch up. Again, good news, they will be retroed. So retro back to when you first started applying, up to March 27th, I think is the first date. So we're trending the same as national, but there's a lot of claims going through right now.
That is good news, and that it can retro. So that's money that people are just out, and that will also help kickstart the restaurants and the shops again when we get back to normal. So, Chris, how are you actively working with businesses to mitigate the hit to our economy? How's GPEC working?
Absolutely. So, probably now 4 weeks ago, we convened the city economic developers, Mike Miranda, who's done a great job with the city of Chandler, to really understand not only what cities we're looking at doing in terms of marketing support for small business to other loan programs and so forth, but in addition, I wanted to share, beyond standing up a lot of resources at gpec.org's website. I mean, we put together a toolkit both in English and Spanish. We went through scenario modeling that would help companies understand how to file for, PPP and economic injury disaster loans. Kind of gave walk through guides of how to do that, because it's not as easy as it appears. We also connected with all the major lending institutions to talk about their process, as the Treasury put out the provisions a couple weeks ago. But I'd say just as important to understanding kind of the short-term triage aspects of dealing with COVID, and certainly supporting small business, as Jessica was talking about, there's still a broad implication around how do we ensure that our cities are working with their commercial property developers, making sure we're building public infrastructure during this time. And I commend the city of Chandler and specifically Micah's team, because I know he's been out on the ground working day and night to ensure that these other projects in the queue, whether it's retail or commercial or job generating projects, are still moving forward. And so my conversations with the cities have kind of been one about let's manage through the triage of supporting small business and the PPP process, and also GPEC is building a regional recovery plan that's multidimensional as well. So we'll be working with the state and county and cities on that. But in the short term, again, we've been out talking to about 2,000 businesses outside of the state of Arizona about their views, and roughly there's about 210 companies today still in our project pipeline that still rate Arizona and Greater Phoenix really high on the radar. So again, as the nose of the plane, as I like to use the analogy, shifts up, and as we come out of this, again, I think Arizona is going to be extraordinarily well positioned because we have world-class communities and a very strong operating environment for businesses. So again, it's going to take the community to come together and work together through this challenging time. But once we're able to open this economy back up, I'm really confident about what we'll see on the other side of this.
That's great to hear, Chris, and I think you're absolutely right. I heard yesterday across the street here at Chandler News Square, Spike Lawrence, who started that place, they signed a lease last week. So I think some people are still bullish on Arizona. They're still bullish on Chandler, and so we're excited about that. So I think you're absolutely right. Jessica, you're working with businesses and job seekers to respond to this COVID-19 issue directly. What are the major challenges those groups are facing right now?
Well, let me first say there are currently 112,000 jobs open in Arizona. Wow. So yes, we're going to come out of this, but we're still hiring. We haven't gone to sleep. So, there are.
That's great.
Yeah. So people, I'm telling people, keep on it. Don't stop. Not look for a job. Keep on it, because the people that are going to get ahead are the ones that are going to come out and continue to do the stuff. Apply to jobs, network, and get in front of people. So we're working with companies and candidates to try to connect them together through. We run weekly events, virtual events right now, but also we have a website that has over 200 companies that are hiring right now, and so. It's through our, you can go to careerconnectors.org and link out to it, or in partnership with Pipeline AZ, they're also posting jobs. And so we are getting these jobs out. So there are resources. So the companies are looking for talent, and candidates are looking. As long as you're looking, you can find a really good job. I always tell people, you only need one. You only need one really good job.
That's great. Well, that's actually fantastic news. So hey, we got to head towards normal here. I think we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And I think I love your analogy, Chris, about, the tip of the plane pointing upward. What do you think businesses are going to do? And what do you think a job market's going to look like? I know, Jessica, you just said there's jobs out there right now. Those corporate positions that may have been furloughed or things like that. Do you see those coming back online? And what is your timeline for this recovery? Is it a third quarter, fourth quarter, first quarter, 21? What are y'all seeing?
I think a lot of that, Mark, depends on the gravity of impact to business, and as we up safely the economy and we get back to society, that's going to play a pivotal role to the recovery. I mean, obviously we're a state that's reliant on people spending money. So it's a consumer-driven economy, and as such, as we're able to do so, you will see a recovery, specifically in area accommodations, hospitality, restaurants, sectors that have been hit hardest, in the short term. They will bounce back, but again, it's all about the timing of being able to safely integrate people. So, at Goldman or Morgan Stanley or other groups looking at the forecasts, I mean, a lot of expectation Q4 is the time when you'll see the market turn around. But again, I put a lot of stock in small business recovery is really important. And we have to ensure that we're doing everything we can to help stabilize these small businesses to weather the storm. And with that, again, I think I'm out on the other side, very, very, very positive position.
Yeah, amen. I agree with you 100%. Yeah, it's a comprehensive approach. I mean, everything works together, and it's definitely every factor. You have to take every industry into account, and every large companies and small companies alike. So I'm, Jessica, what are your thoughts about that real quick, and then we'll kind of wrap it up here.
Yeah, so just one thing to keep in mind as people are going through this unemployment process is this stimulus funding goes through about July 31st. And so that's that $600 stimulus funding I mentioned. So my personal feeling is that many people may wait till after July 31st to really start to job search. Do not do that. Do not do that, because that will affect business, and you can find a really good job right now, because there is going to be a lot of people that actually do that. So that's my encouragement to people. Get out and look for jobs now. Do not wait. It's not the time to wait.
Well, if there's any last thoughts, I'm going to kind of wrap it up here. And if there's any last thoughts, I'll let you guys close it out. But, I want to thank you for joining us today. I think it's important for our community to know that we are all working hard, and I feel terrible for everything that's happening to our small business owners, people that are affected by this from the health crisis perspective. It's just horrible. But Arizonans are resilient. Chandlerites are resilient. We're hardworking. We're pioneers. We're going to pull out of this, and there's plans in place. Things are going to be okay. There's liquidation from the government, as well as pouring cash into the market, and so there's going to be a way to recover. So. I'm inspired by what you guys are doing. I'm inspired by what I'm seeing our small business owners do to adapt and improvise. And I'm not excited about the future, but I'm optimistic about the future. And I feel like everybody's locking arms and working together and setting aside differences and what have you to move forward. And I think you're right, Chris and Jessica. Arizona is poised to move out of this very quickly and recover quickly. So, any last thoughts? And
I just want to say, I want to remind Arizonans that we can do hard things. We've done hard things before. We had a recession 11 years ago. We got out of that, and we're thriving. We can do hard things, and we can do this together.
Yeah, I agree. I think, some people call it we're resilient. Some people say we're stubborn. Maybe we're pioneers. It's probably all, but again, I think examples with the philanthropic community really band together as Arizonans, and that's something we should all be very proud of. And again, I think we got to continue to help our friends, family get through this process, and we will see a positive other side. So let's keep our chin up and let's keep moving this economy forward.
Absolutely right. Chris, Jessica, thanks so much. Chandler, good luck. We're going to get after this, and we'll talk to you soon.